And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore 2013 as part of our Season 8 round of StarCraft 2 and League of Legends action. The main stage is now going to be taken over by StarCraft 2 as we move on through Group B. But earlier on we played some StarCraft 2 through Group A. If you were with us, thank you for tuning in. If you weren't, here is what you missed. Group A looked like this. We had a fantastic couple of games actually between San and MVP. Ended up in a three-mapper in the end. MVP trying to go mech all the way through, but didn't quite work out for it. Some would say didn't quite make it work, but let's move on from the puns. San coming through that one. MVP did claim second place after a win in the lower bracket against Curious. So that's how Group A ended up. Of course, those two players now go through to the quarterfinals, which will take place on Sunday. We have Group C and D being played tomorrow, but today we have the end of Group A and B. Group A done, but Group A now well underway, so let's take a look at Group B. The bracket, of course, is dual tournament format. And so far, so good for two players. EffOrt with a 2-0 win over King Kong, and DongRaeGu a 2-0 win over the European Terran Happy. So EffOrt versus DongRaeGu is our next matchup. These two players have plenty of form between them. EffOrt, if you weren't with us yesterday, came through the open bracket with some very, very nice plays indeed, and he's used to having it tough, that's for sure. The former 2010 OSL winner goes head-to-head with a man who, well, he's a bit of a legend in his own right. An MLG winner, of course, and a previous Intel Extreme Masters winner, as well as a GSL champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, DongRaeGu. And he goes head-to-head with a man who, well, he doesn't need an introduction really, because he had about 5 of them yesterday. Yes, that's right, he was brilliant yesterday. It's the Zerg, EffOrt. So here we go then. It's the last game of this Group B game to decide, or rather the first game of Group B to decide who goes through to the quarterfinals. Is it DongRaeGu or is it EffOrt? Gentlemen, shake hands, best of luck between you, and good luck. We're going to hand you over to the commentary team for this one. Enjoy, guys.
Thanks very much, Paul. Welcome to the caster's desk here for the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore, as we now have the winners match in Group B to decide who advances on to the brackets in day number 4. Will it be EffOrt or will it be DongRaeGu? We've already had a few ZVZs today.
Yeah, EffOrt looked absolutely perfect against King Kong, even taking some pretty badly losing situations, turning them around into easy wins. And DRG, of course, is DRG. But EffOrt, really well known for his ZVZ. His lane lane control is absolutely impeccable. Yeah. That's really something he's going to be looking to abuse. But DRG, I haven't seen him play ZVZ a ton recently, but of course, always a great player.
Yeah, we saw him a little bit at the Intel Extreme Masters in New York, where he did take a few series during the open bracket stages. He didn't qualify directly through qualifiers, so had to attend the open bracket, and did all right for himself. However, EffOrt, we already saw him dispatch King Kong pretty easily just before. So now will DongRaeGu be wary of kind of early pool plays that we were seeing from EffOrt to try and make that work out? It's certainly something he has to factor in here.
Yeah, he did beat King Kong pretty easily, and King Kong, not a terrible player, but definitely not of the caliber of DRG. So this should be quite a bit harder for EffOrt here, but he made those games look pretty easy. And he was just kind of doing everything. They were actually really scrappy, really unusual, unpredictable games. EffOrt looked completely comfortable and calm with that. And those are the kind of games he really excels at. He wasn't the one making them so scrappy. That was mostly King Kong's doing. But I wouldn't be surprised if here against DRG he tries to make things very fast-paced and aggressive. I think that's really what he should be looking for.
It would actually be a very interesting turnout if we had DongRaeGu advance in this series, because if you think about it already, we've had San and MVP advance. Now, if you have San, MVP, and DongRaeGu advancing as the 3 players initially, that sounds like a lineup from a tournament in like 2011.
It actually does, yeah. So
that could certainly be a possibility here for the first 3, as DongRaeGu is a very, very good ZVZ player. EffOrt's already shown his prowess so far. Now the countdown has begun for game number 1 here, as Belshir Vestige will be our first map. So we are just waiting for a second whilst all of these guys get ready to go. And I gotta say, I think I would give the edge to DongRaeGu in terms of how we've seen him in the past, again, at Intel Extreme Masters New York. But here, down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent representing CJ Entus. He is EffOrt. And spawning up the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg. Representing MVP, we have DongRaeGu.
And DongRaeGu, much like MVP, who already saw today, not as accomplished, not as lauded, obviously, but he's the kind of player who he was an absolute superstar, and you don't really expect him to win tournaments anymore, but every once in a while he pops up and just destroys everyone. And even in Korea, in GSL, he's the kind of player who randomly beats Codes players all the time. So he is not to be underestimated. And EffOrt, we haven't seen a ton of him recently. Obviously, he made it through the open bracket yesterday. Some really good games there, but not a whole lot of ZVZs. I think it was mostly on the back of his ZVT from what I saw. So it's really hard to predict this, and we actually have a really early pool, a 10 pool coming out from DRG.
Yeah, well, he's certainly going to be bringing the fire very, very quickly. And you were kind of right about EffOrt, his open bracket run. We initially saw him actually fall to Dream and then eventually beat Dream, which was a little bit of a surprise to me, considering the way in which the first series went, and then just in Dream's power in general in the matchup. But EffOrt really showed that he was able to adapt very quickly on the fly, and that kind of skill transitions very nicely onto a matchup like ZVZ, where you can get wild, crazy build order differences, especially what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and we do see it is going to be a 15 hatch from EffOrt. Kind of unfortunate for him. He opened up the last series against King Kong with a pool first, which would have been a little bit safer here, but hatch first and an immediate gas from DRG. From Curious, we saw in his ZVZ earlier against Shigwa, I believe, he opened up pool first both games, but with much later gas. Here, immediate gas, that's almost definitely going to be a Baneling all-in. Maybe a Speedling all-in, but I would say Baneling is much more likely, and there goes the Bane Nest. So that's going to be a very powerful all-in, and EffOrt obviously opening up with hatch first. He could be in trouble here.
Certainly could be. We'll have to see how EffOrt's going to control this. He already showed some superb control against the likes of King Kong just before in ZVZ, but now this is a whole other kettle of fish. His spawning pool isn't even half done by the time those lings are halfway across the map. So EffOrt needs to buy some time to cancel the natural. It's going to be a little bit difficult here for him.
Here you almost definitely want to cancel the natural because you really need those minerals to get a lot of... You need to get up a queen and as many Zerglings as you can, and then at least 2 spine crawlers against a Baneling build. If you're against an expansion 10 pool, then you want to keep the hatchery up, but here he definitely needs to cancel and get those minerals to actually put up a defense.
Sorry, the Zerglings are already going to go to work on one drone. Nice control there, though, from the drones in general to make sure that doesn't die. And he brings it straight back into that. Oh, but he does end up nipping that in the bud. Gets the 2 and a 3 as well.
And he doesn't trap the Zerglings, so the Zerglings stay alive and well. Very important to keep them alive so you can actually... Because the Baneling attack... Wow, that's very cocky of him, actually just morphing them immediately in front of... Oh, but he already had the 2 Banelings coming in. That's going to be... EffOrt is, unless he splits this amazingly well, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Actually, he does split them very well.
That was a very good split. You're right, but 2 Banelings crash straight into those. The Zerglings are still alive. Unit counts here. He's only got 2 Zerglings to his name as EffOrt was. There's 10 already out here for DongRaeGu. DongRaeGu at this point...
he's down to 5 drones total at this point, I think.
Yeah, it's 10 to 8 at this point, so... What we're going to see here from DongRaeGu is still more committal to the Banelings. He still has a little bit more, a little bit of gas coming in. As long as he's able to somehow wiggle around the screen or maybe even kill it right here, that could be all right for him. Well, that dies. The funny thing was is that he was controlling the Baneling very meticulously to try and connect with the Queen and all 4 Zerglings at the same time, but couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of questionable by EffOrt there. I'm not sure why he didn't try and focus down the Baneling. I think he might have been able to save the Queen had he done that. But as is, not the worst shape for EffOrt. He's maybe a drone or 2 down. Not sure where it's ended up. He's actually 5 drones down, so that's a pretty big deal. But he does have that hatchery up. So he has a double production. He did have 2 queens to 1. Now, obviously, it's 1 to 1. But no Speedling. No hatchery started yet for DRG. So this is kind of evened out. And we do have Speedling coming from DRG, though. So that will open up some aggression for him. And no gas, no tech at all for EffOrt. So he's not really going to be able to do anything against that besides put up spine crawlers and wall off with his queens. So that could turn into something for DRG in a minute or 2 here.
I think one of the things that's quite interesting about this position we find out in, whilst we do have EffOrt spotting that there is speed on the way, is that with the lower drone count that EffOrt has, but the fact that he has a natural over DongRaeGu, does he have the income to be able to fuel that advantage of the natural, or is it just too much for him at this point?
It actually kicks in pretty quickly.
Yeah.
just because you have two mineral lines to work off of. You have all the resources available you could want. And drones aren't really all that expensive. So at first, it starts out pretty slow, but it snowballs pretty quickly. By the time DRG's hatchery is up, EffOrt would be well ahead of him in drones if nothing else happened, if there was no circling aggression to account for. But Speedling coming and no tech for EffOrt, that definitely could be something to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, these Zerglings being out on the field right now, they're trying to get a denial, but speed finishing up means that these Zerglings are guaranteed to die. They're trying to take a queen with them, though, and they will end up getting it. So that's not too bad there for EffOrt.
Yeah, that's very good for him. He's buying himself some time. He sees the Speedlings. He has more queens coming. He should be able to deal with that, especially because it's just that handful of Zerglings from DRG. He's not producing any additional ones. So he should be okay. He took out that queen, which means that he continues to have a production advantage. He continues to accelerate past DRG in terms of drones. But again, EffOrt no gases yet, so nowhere near a lair, no Speedling, no map control at all. He's basically just going to sit back here and say, I have more drones than you, deal with it.
Yeah, but he's going to have to deal with this.
He's losing quite a few drones, so maybe so much for that.
Yeah, 11 Lings out right now against nothing. I mean, he has the 2 queens on the ramp that are blocking, yes, but he's still losing drone after drone. He's down 13 drones in the game as a whole, so it's 24 drones to 19 in favor of DongRaeGu. Doing well.
Definitely. He was a little bit too paranoid there. He had all 3 queens on his ramp. He thought this might be like a complete all-in from DRG. It was just harassment. He could have had another queen down there. That actually would have helped a lot because you can mess with the pathing. You can drone drill through the queen and just additional DPS. So that could have been a little bit better for EffOrt, but on the whole, we saw it still ended up pretty equal. Tech advantage for DRG is still the thing to keep harping on because the fact that he has Speedling and EffOrt doesn't means that DRG can take this 3rd base safely because he has complete map control. There's nothing EffOrt can do without any kind of tech.
So from this position, if you were in EffOrt's shoes here, how do you try and mount some kind of comeback in terms of catching up?
Well, he's putting up 2 gases right now, which means I assume he's going to head for some kind of tech, but it's honestly going to be pretty hard. Playing gasless against an opponent who takes a really fast 3rd, this is like one of the counters to the style, and EffOrt is playing, he doesn't have the economic advantage that the gasless style usually comes with, so he doesn't really even have that to work with. I'm not sure if he's going to try and go fast lair. He shouldn't, because there's going to be 3 bases with Spore Crawlers up by the time he gets anywhere near Mutas, and he's just going to be out-economied. But as is going for Roaches, again, very far behind in economy. He just doesn't really have much going for him because he's going to fall behind pretty quickly in terms of drone count and just mineral lines available. He just doesn't really have very much going for him here.
Well, if it is going to be that tough, we'll have to see if he can mount some kind of miracle comeback. Right now, the 3rd base is under assault, and this comes back to exactly what you were saying about having some map presence and some map control, because being able to deny...
he didn't cancel it.
Oh, yeah. Didn't cancel. Loses 300 minerals.
He's going to lose that queen, and if that other one walks out, he'll lose that as well. So EffOrt kind of... Oh, wow. I don't know why he ran away. He could have killed that for sure. That's strange.
Especially since the other one didn't have the energy to transfuse after the initial transfuse anyway.
He has more Lings coming out. He just wanted to keep those alive. Might be making Banelings? No, he's not.
We have 13 Lings out right now for him, so he's going to just head straight on down there and continue to deny her. Because, I mean, that's one of the fantastic things about ZVZ. If you can gain this map control and this map presence so quickly, and then deny your opponent's 3rd whilst claiming your own, you're always going to be at the advantage.
Really smart from DRG to continue that Zergling pressure so he keeps holding on to that advantage. He's not just saying, okay, I got my 3rd a bit faster, I'm going to sit back and drone it up and sit on that advantage. He realizes that he still has that map control. He still doesn't have anything to worry about. He might as well keep that pressure and contain on. And we see a very fast lair coming out from EffOrt, but, well, not very fast. We see him go immediately to lair, but DRG's is actually at the same timing. So EffOrt going straight lair with nothing else to back it up, really.
Now, as you said, before, the upgrade advantage here for EffOrt in the carapace can work out if he's able to continue that on. But right now, with the economy that is heavily in favored of DongRaeGu, because that 3rd is up and running, the Roach numbers he's going to have just pure as a sledgehammer blow is going to counteract that kind of carapace upgrade. So DongRaeGu is completely in the driving seat, and EffOrt has to find a way to deal some damage, anything, or catch up somehow.
He is moving out looking to take a 3rd, but I mean, we already have pretty much full economy, full income from DRG from that 3rd base. And so just now starting the hatchery, that's so far behind for EffOrt. Like you said, the upgrade advantage will be there. He is going to be 1-1 versus 1-0. And he does scout that, so he's going to know what he's working with, which is kind of nice. But really, that's just a relatively minor advantage compared to the massive economy lead. It is only plus 10 drones, but it is also an additional gas, and with the 3 mineral lines, those drones will be much more efficient than EffOrt's are. So it's bigger than that disparity in Harvester's seems. And this isn't like a tricky game at all. It's just pure Roach versus Roach, and that's really bad for EffOrt in this situation because it's just going to come down to who has more. And with that much economy, there's no way DRG is going to lose that battle.
Yeah, it really does spiral out of control here for him if he's not able to do something. Second evolution chamber goes down for DongRaeGu at the third base, which is slightly out of the way of where EffOrt's actually having a look around. So might not actually be spotted, but I mean, you know, if it goes to 2-2 versus 2-2 eventually, then things in turn do end up evening out. But still only in favor of DongRaeGu, as he will have those roach numbers heavily in favor of him. And even now, he has 20 extra roaches than his opponent. A massive, massive lead here for DongRaeGu.
And that's more than enough. The upgrades have completed, so it is now 1-1 to 1 versus 1-0 for EffOrt, but that roach disadvantage is more than enough to make up for that, and even losing a couple of roaches sloppily out here.
Yeah.
This might just be the end of it. We see a 50 supply advantage for DRG.
Especially since weapons upgrades just in general outweigh the benefit of armor upgrades when it comes to roach versus roach, because armor only adds 1, whereas weapons adds 2. So, but anyway, it looks like DongRaeGu's just going to head straight on in here, wrap around all of these roaches. Nice chance to use there from EffOrt to keep one of them alive, but it's not going to last for very much longer, as DongRaeGu absolutely slaughters these roach numbers. EffOrt's trying to reinforce as quickly as he possibly can do. He does have the shorter reinforcement path, but I don't think it's going to work out. DongRaeGu's sledgehammer blow is going to absolutely cripple these roach numbers, kill off some roaches in the drones in the process. Even the roach swarm goes down. He can't make any more roaches.
Nope, and that could be the end of it for EffOrt here, because without those reinforcements, the only hope he had was trickling in reinforcements and trying to drag the game out and letting that upgrade advantage kick in. But at this point, it looks like it's just way too much for him.
The downhill spiral just comes to that ultimate point where it flats out, and now EffOrt, he doesn't really have too much hope here. It was a long, long, slow death for him because he couldn't find a way back to do the damage or to somehow take a massive economical advantage by taking massive risks. It just wasn't there for him. And DongRaeGu killing off the remaining roaches. EffOrt down in terms of supply. GG for game number 1. DongRaeGu will go up 1-0.
And that was a relatively easy game for DRG. His 10 pool, his banelings, they weren't game-endingly effective, but they were enough to give him control of the game. And it was really, really good decision-making and scouting on his part to see the gasless opening from EffOrt, realizing that they were pretty much even economy. He didn't really have a whole lot going for him except for that map control, just taking that third, a very casual, very easy way to just kind of end it, except, you know, 15 minutes down the road. But, but essentially ended at that point.
It's almost as if, you know, technically... Well, technically, were there any points before that DongRaeGu could have ended it and played kind of... It's kind of a risk to end it, or try and end it earlier than that, right?
Well, when you see gasless, you can do some kind of all-in, because he's not going to have any banelings to deal with mass zerglings. He's not really going to have anything to deal with a roach bane, although that would come quite a bit further down the road. So it is possible, but queens and spine crawlers can be a very cost-efficient defense. And the thing is there, if you attack and fail, you pretty much lose the game, or at the very least, you throw away a big chunk of your advantage.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take that third base, as we saw, there was nothing at all, like literally nothing EffOrt could do about that. So it was just a very safe way to an advantage, and DRG is a good enough player. Even if EffOrt's better than him, he's close enough that there's no way he's going to throw away an advantage like that. We saw it was something like a 20 roach advantage just as the lair upgrades finished. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to hold on to that kind of thing. So that was definitely the safer, smarter, easy way to win from DRG.
And very well executed indeed. So now moving on to game number 2 in just a little bit. It's going to be Yonsu as our map as we wait to get this going. And after seeing that performance there by DongRaeGu, I would say that once again still sits in firm position here as the favorite to move on through. But we've seen EffOrt already bring out some early pulls himself. He might employ that. But DongRaeGu already showed that he can as well.
Yeah. Going into this match, I would say EffOrt was the more likely of the two to open up with a 10 pool or just use a 10 pool in general. But, you know, any high-level Zerg is going to be able to employ that, and it's really smart to mix in to any kind of series, especially now that he has a 1-0 lead and he did that. EffOrt has to worry about that, and he's playing from behind. DRG has a lot more to work with, and just much better, like a much more confident position to work from.
All right, well, getting into game number 2, spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our red Zerg, representing CJ Entus. He is EffOrt. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg representing MVP. He is DongRaeGu.
Nothing too much to look at just yet, and we don't see any 6 pools coming out. Both does look like both going 9 Overlord, so we're not going to have to worry about any kind of 10 pool this game. And this is a map I haven't seen a whole lot of ZVZ out of. The third bases are pretty exposed and pretty hard to take. You have rocks obviously blocking off the close one, and the other one is almost as close to your opponent as it is to you. So this would definitely seem like a Muta map to me. That's always the biggest determining factor, how easily you can secure a third base against the Muta opening. And on here, it would be quite difficult. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them go for Mutas, assuming the Ling Baneling phase of the game passes without any incidents, which is kind of rare amongst Korean players. They are often very aggressive, especially in ZVZ. And EffOrt, we talked a little bit about his Ling Baneling micro. It's just absolutely amazing when he gets into it. And even early game, holding off that Temple Baneling rush, his drone control was really, really good.
I can only imagine how hard it would be to deal with Mutalisks if you decided to try and take that third closer towards your opponent. It must be the most nightmarish thing to do.
It just really doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have seen some players go like Mass Ling builds, the +1 Carapace Mass Ling, kind of like what we saw King Kong try and do on Derelict Watch, and just use that to take a third here, because with that style, the Mutas basically never get aggressive. They just have to defend the entire time. So then it kind of doesn't matter how far away the third is, but really, this is I do feel Muta is the best build to go with on this map. And we actually see a really weird build out of DRG. He's actually just opening up Speedling, and this doesn't happen anymore. No one does this at all. And we see a normal pool first opening coming out of EffOrt, but DRG, yeah, opening up. I think that was, I wasn't even paying attention because usually nothing of interest happens build order-wise past the 10 pool. But it was 14 pool, 14 gas, or something along those lines. And that can actually be pretty scary here because 15 pool comes with slightly later tech, and that can make you a little bit vulnerable against any kind of Speedling all-in, if that's what DRG is going to look for here. But yeah, we just have to see how this unfolds, because there's two options. DRG could do a Ling Bane all-in, or a very heavy Ling Bane rush, or he could just make a handful of Speedlings and harass with that, because his Speedling obviously will be significantly faster than EffOrt's.
Yeah. Well, we saw EffOrt there being very reluctant of going in with the Overlord to see what was going on there because of the spawning pool timing, but you were about to say something?
Oh, he did pull, EffOrt pulled all, no, sorry, DRG pulled all but one of the drones off the gas, so it will not be a Baneling rush. It is just going to be Speedling. And it could still be just Speedling harassed or essentially a Speedling all-in. We have to see. But with those drones coming out, most likely just going to be harassment, which is really weird. I don't know. This isn't much of a build anymore because Hatchery First just kind of holds it off very easily and turns into a big economic advantage.
Yeah.
But against Pool First, it's pretty close economically. The Hatchery isn't too much faster for EffOrt. And it's really just going to come down to how much he invests in the Zerglings and if he can do any damage with them or not.
I have EffOrt poking around here with two Zerglings. Not going to get too much done with that, though. In fact, losing a Zergling pretty much instantly there. As the other one's just trundling around and not getting too much done himself, even getting cornered against those minerals. So slight advantage there for him. And then EffOrt, in turn, is going to throw down his Baneling Nest, as is DongRaeGu. Almost in exactly the same places. Both players building up a ton of Zerglings as well. So one's going to go on the offensive. It's just a matter of who.
And this will be very interesting because the Speedling is noticeably faster for DRG. The Baneling Nests are at essentially the same time. So if DRG moves out immediately here, he's going to have an advantage, and he is. So his Speedling should finish before... Yeah, he will have Speedling while EffOrt will not at EffOrt's base. So if he manages to do some damage there, that could be really big. Everything's going to come down to control here.
Yeah, it certainly could be. And those two queens on the ramp blocking this. Very, very important indeed. The drones are actually there as well. They were on hold position around that queen for a second, but they're actually going to enter the fight here. And DongRaeGu takes a little bit of a lead. I'm surprised he let that actually happen.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Really, what he should have done was pull all the Zerglings up the ramp, pull all the drones into his main, sit behind the queens, and wait for Speedling to finish. But his speed was quite far. It just finished now, so I'm not sure if that was really an option. He may have lost the queens had he done that. So really, build order-wise, this just turned out amazingly well for DRG.
And he's going to continue the pressure. Morphing in Banelings. Already has a few with him, though. Has to be very careful about that. Two Banelings for EffOrt, though, do move into the fray as well. And actually get a really good connection down there. These four Banelings trying to do something for DongRaeGu, but EffOrt's already done the deed down the ramp.
And he has. But more Zerglings come in. Definitely going to lose that queen. He does... Oh, that was almost really bad. You almost lost everything there.
Still, DongRaeGu has to be careful. Defensive Banelings trying to deal with that, but DongRaeGu split up his Zerglings effectively and actually soaked up those two Banelings rather nicely. So, just going to have to mosey on back for now.
Really clean control from both of them thus far, besides that one bad Baneling hit down the ramp. Just really, really clean from both of them. And we actually have pretty close Harvester counts, only a 5-drone advantage for DRG. However, he did kill that queen as well. Maybe killed 2 queens, did I miss that? If he killed 2 queens, that's a massive advantage. It does look like it was only 1, but that's still given that the drone advantage already goes to DRG, the fact that he has production advantage as well means he's going to come out this way ahead in terms of economy.
And the defense should be okay as long as these banelings are able to hold their own. Let's get a few lings there. Has to be careful as there are already 2 lings in each of these mineral lines now trying to work away at some of the drones. And in the end, got 2 and then are finally cleaned up by DongRaeGu. So spines for each other. Just to make sure that this can't continue from either player. And it's back to drones and back trying to advance onto the mid game unless someone goes for a huge swell of lings, but I don't see that happening at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't see that happening. It seems like they're both droning up, and they're actually pretty much ended up dead even in Harvest. There's just a 2-drone advantage for EffOrt at the moment, and that's very negligible. That can go away in 1 production round.
DongRaeGu trying to be aggressive, but there are still some banelings there to be able to get rid of this. Detonations on these Zerglings, not exactly like 100% necessary as he already has the lings there. And, well, those drones are very, very low. If he controlled that, maybe you could have got 1 or 2 of them.
He got at least 2 out of that, I think. I feel like he could have gotten more with better control, but already got a few drones killed there, and his lair is faster. His gas already getting up to 4 gases, where not even the second start, actually still only on 1 gas. And he actually canceled the lair. EffOrt canceled his lair.
Oh.
So that, yeah, it's going to be a Roach Baneling. Wait, no, he's putting down double Evo, so he's going to go for 1/1 lings, probably, which is kind of weird at this point. The upgrades aren't really going to kick in before lair tech kicks in for DRG.
If he did that,
this is odd.
Yeah, if he did that, wouldn't it wouldn't be effectively all in against like the lack of tech?
Pretty much. Basically, it was like I said earlier on, and it is going to be melee upgrade, so it will be that. He's just going to run around with a ton of speedlings and try and keep the mutas occupied while he establishes himself, and then does enough damage with the lings to like use an economic advantage to get into the mid game. But his upgrades are going to come after the mutas are already out, and like that's the timing window you look for. You try and get your upgrades finished, and then you do damage before the mutas get out. And that's just not going to be possible at all here. So, I don't know.
I remember you said that, you know, on this map that this can work against this particular style that we're seeing from DongRaeGu. But in terms of you playing this style, in terms of you being the mutalist player or being the guy who's going for 1/1 and trying to... Which is easier to execute? Because it feels to me as if EffOrt's tactic here is harder to execute in the grand scheme of things, but if you can get it done, then it can hold your opponent back.
It kind of depends. It can be effective. It can be just like a completely dumb move command, and maybe it's successful style. But against someone like DRG, he's obviously not going to let that work. So then it gets really hard because you have to be very, very careful with your Zergling movement and really think it through. And actually, while this is happening up at EffOrt's third base, there's 3 banelings morphing in the main of DRG. And that could actually kill off a lot of drones if we're not careful here.
Yeah, those 3 banelings, sneaky here from EffOrt. But at the same time, there is a lot of ling pressure going down at this third base. EffOrt got some good baneling connections at the top, but will he get the detonations here in the mineral line? Yes, he will. A few drones do end up going down, quite equalizing things up quite nicely in terms of the ones that have already been lost.
It looks like he actually got a ton of drones there. That was 4 mineral patches worth. That could have been like 7 or 8. I didn't see exactly, but
I think he got I think he got 9 in total. So there were already 2 dead from previous. But EffOrt now with these lings, with 1/1 about to complete as well. Yes, the Mutalisks are on the way, but they're going to be kept at home for quite a while trying to deal with little banelings. Ooh, almost had a heart attack.
And so this is kind of what EffOrt's looking for, but he just hasn't done that much drone damage thus far. There's a ton of ling bane out on the map for DRG that will help him defend. He has enough mutas out, and, well, the lair is finished at home for EffOrt. He is putting up spore crawlers, but I really don't think he's going to get the damage done with this these upgraded Zerglings that he really needs to have.
Has to be careful about holding this back, and DongRaeGu's controlling this well. Just needs to, there you go. Those 2 banelings slip through and kill off a lot of those Zerglings. And now EffOrt needs to find a way to continue to hold DongRaeGu back. Otherwise, the Mutalists are just going to spring into action and try and, well, I mean, there's plenty of Overlords on the map for him to already kill, actually.
Yeah, he's just going to be satisfied with killing those off. There's quite a few Spore Crawlers out, so EffOrt isn't likely to take too much damage from these, but killing off those mutas and just denying the damage from the Zerglings, because DRG has his own third base coming. He's not at all in on these mutas. He can transition very comfortably into the mid game. Just use his mutas for map control and kind of to scare EffOrt. But EffOrt actually has a pretty big drone advantage. He's been producing drones very well behind the Zergling pressure. So this has ended up to be a pretty even game. It really depends on how well he's going to use those mutas before any kind of anti-air gets out.
Right, Zergling's going to try and run on in again, but at the same time, you know, DongRaeGu's Zergling positioning is also very, very good to deny that from actually happening. He's been really diligent about that, actually.
He's been very, very good about that, because those 1-1 Lings, they trade very, very well against 0-0 Lings. And it's so easy for them to just slip by or find a fight that they're going to be very, very efficient in. And then it just kind of snowballs from there. There keeps being openings everywhere because you have to run some units over to another place to deal with that. It's just very, very easy for that to go bad, and he just never let that even start happening. And a really odd Muta fight there. Just kind of losing a few Mutas for a queen. Not a great trade there.
I was looking at the screen very bemused there as to what was going on, because he got a queen. He got 3 Mutalisks for a queen. Of course, there was some energy used on those for the transfuses, but now we have EffOrt still being aggressive here with these 1-1 Lings that aren't really still not getting as much done as they would like to, because DongRaeGu's been pretty good about his defenses.
But they are keeping DRG on the back foot. Yeah. Although EffOrt hasn't really been making any more drones. He's kind of just been investing in the unit production, so he's not pulling ahead with that space he's creating. I'm not really sure what his long-term goals are here. He is switching into Roach, of course. Both players going for the mid-game Roach, as is normal. And more Zerglings dying. I really think EffOrt needs to stop at this point. I think it's hitting the point where this is just throwing away resources.
Zerglings trying to do much more, but the Roach is going to shut those down pretty quickly. How many Roaches does he actually have out? He has 20 Roaches against 12, and the upgrades are going to be pretty comparable, aside from the fact that, once again, EffOrt will have the Carapace over DongRaeGu because of the previous upgrade set. So, but this time, of course, EffOrt is transitioning on into that mid-game, the later stages of the mid-game, a bit easier than last game, of course. So he should be level pegging and make this go. Actually, does he have the Infestation Pit? Yeah, he does.
Oh, he already has Infestors out, in fact. So yeah, I would say, if anything, definitely a bit of an advantage for EffOrt here. He has he had a slight Harvester lead until just now. DRG just pulled ahead. But he has the Infestors out. He has a Macro Hatchery coming faster. And just overall, except for the Mutas, which haven't really been a factor in this game thus far, it's mostly going in EffOrt's favor, I'd say.
Well, those Infestors and Roaches now moving out into the middle of the map here for EffOrt. Once again, unit counts. The Roach numbers have been significantly evened up here by EffOrt, and again, with those 6 Infestors, going to be a very, very tall order here for DongRaeGu to shut this down just yet. Interesting placement of this Spore Crawler, actually.
Yeah, those Mutas are kind of just being a pain, and I think he was hoping to hit a Fungal and get the Spore under them and just get rid of them so he doesn't have to worry about it. But DRG being a little bit too active, too smart for that. And just really, really safe, smart play from both players. Really good positioning from EffOrt to make sure no kind of run-bys mess with him.
And it looks like here DongRaeGu is deciding to completely circumvent any kind of Infest attack and just go straight for his Hydralisks. And he is going to have quite a lot of them out by the time this push actually comes. But he's going to be down on Roaches. Now, can his Roaches and Hydras out DPS a lot of these Roaches as well as Fungals is the big question. He needs to spread himself effectively. Already gets a free volley off there. And he's going to come in from both sides. Not too bad a Fungal there from EffOrt as he continues to chain that and do pretty well about it, but he has the concave advantage against this army. Can the Hydralisks work out against this? Infested Terrans get launched down as well, but DongRaeGu is being overpowered on this left side. Will his right-hand side be able to bring this back for him? There's 23 Roaches still out for EffOrt, continuing to push on, and he's continuing to make quite a lot behind this. He's got around 20 Roaches in the reinforcement, which would take quite a while to get down here.
They would, but I think he has enough Roaches left over to keep DRG off balance until those reinforcements join. And he's splitting up very nicely, going into every mineral line, just doing some work on all of the drones. And the biggest thing is just keeping DRG off balance, because he has more and more reinforcements pouring in. He's off of 4 hatcheries versus DRG's 3, so he's just going to kind of get overwhelmed at this point unless he can stabilize somehow.
Yeah, very, very good numbers on the side here of EffOrt as he tries to tie this series up. Wants to advance on in first place in Group B. Very important to do so, as you don't want to have to fight off against the other players remaining in Group B. All of these groups are absolutely stacked, so you don't want to have to play any more matches at all. But still, DongRaeGu's going to try and hold on for now. He's going to try and take his 4th base, adding on an Infestation Pit of his own, as well as getting more Hydras out to try and deal with a massive, massive swell of Roaches here from EffOrt.
Yeah, in terms of worker count, they actually ended up pretty similar there, but still a big, big standing army lead for EffOrt, and also, I believe, an upgrade advantage. No, they both have 2-1, so pretty similar there, but just so many more Roaches for EffOrt here.
Yeah, he was actually up 20 Roaches, so the tables have completely been turned. GG, game number 2 goes to EffOrt. He ties up the series, and now we go to the final game in this best of 3.
I was a little bit worried for EffOrt there. He kind of walked himself into a concave. I thought he was going to go all the way up the ramp and then use the ramp to get off money fungals, but he kind of just stood there and fought. And I don't know, I think that made it a lot closer than it needed to be, but he just knew he had enough roaches to kind of power his way through, and he really just overwhelmed him there.
Well played there by EffOrt, and it's funny actually, because considering what we were talking about at the beginning, you pretty much predict that entire game before it even occurred. So, so that was pretty well done there, Idra. As for now, we are going to jump into game number 3, which will be on Derelict Watcher. And again, we've already had this once or twice in the ZVZs for today, and I do not like infestors that much on the map. Because of the fact that you can get really, really good concaves and spread across, and the fungals don't hit as many units. But that's when it gets to the Roach Infestor play in the very, very mid-game. And hell, we could see even the Mutalisks come along, and it could be important to get those Infestors out at that point.
Yeah, we've actually been seeing a lot of Muta versus ground play. Like, we haven't seen a single Muta versus Muta, and we've only seen 1 or 2 ground versus ground, but lots of Muta versus ground. And amongst the Koreans, amongst foreigners, I'd say Hydra is actually the more popular response, especially if you can get a 3rd base up. But the Koreans much seem to prefer Infestor. I think we've actually seen that in every single ground versus Muta game thus far. So that does seem to be the tech of choice. And as much as I dislike it, in versus Muta situations, it can be okay. And there, as we saw, like, if you have similar number of roaches, having a bunch of infestors behind it certainly doesn't hurt.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, game number 3 is loading up here between DongRaeGu and EffOrt. The winner will advance on to the final day's bracket here at the Intel Extreme Masters, the top 8 position, at least for them, and claiming themselves quite a handy bit of prize money in the process. As we now wait for game number 3 to load up, and we are good to go. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our red Zerg, representing CJ Entus, he is EffOrt. And up to the top right-hand corner as our blue Zerg, he is MVP DongRaeGu.
That was kind of a nice game to see, because back when we were talking about EffOrt right at the start, I kind of mentioned how I really liked him in Brood War, and the example I gave was how he would ZVZ by just running around lings and controlling his opponent and building up an economy behind it, and that's exactly what we saw him do last game. So it really didn't seem like the Zerglings were all that effective, but somehow he just managed to be efficient enough that he could keep eking out drones behind it and building up a slow economic lead, just keeping the Mutas busy for long enough. And then really, really good defensive to Mutas, too. He just let them do absolutely nothing once they could finally get active on the map.
Yeah, 100%. I have to completely agree. It was pretty magical, actually, how he was able to make that work out in terms of just running around and being able to get drone after drone here and there, just slyly off the back of it. But for now, we are in game number 3. Derelict Watcher is our map. Very, very open mid if you're unfamiliar with this map. Compared to most maps, this one has a very, very large space in the middle of the map where you can just run around and flank very easily as well is one of the biggest characteristics of this map, so you've got to be careful about that.
Multiple paths everywhere, 3 paths down the middle, plus the expansion routes along the side. So lots of great room for counterattacks, Zerglings or Roaches, whatever you prefer. So lots of room for active play, which, as we saw last game, EffOrt really, really good at. But DRG, of course, he was known as pretty much the fastest player in the world back when he was top of the heap, and he's still mechanically just absolutely superb. So what's pool timing? That was just a normal pool first from EffOrt, so he's a little bit worried after DRG's 10-pull antics in the first game still. And DRG opening up with a hat first, and then a gas. So pretty much the greedier end of the spectrum for DRG. So he's going to have a small economic lead, but nothing big either way.
Yeah, getting away with the mind game in essence. I think in the end it comes back to the opening and how things evolve in a best of 3. It's DongRaeGu's builds. They're very aimed at a best of 3 mentality, right? Of like, I'm going to put you a little bit on edge, and then I can try and ride that wave for a little bit longer. It's much different in comparison to that kind of best of 1 mentality. And then it gets even more crazy when it goes to best of 5s, etc., etc. And we've seen some amazing longer series like WCS Grand Finals, for example. Some really cool stuff so far in StarCraft.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I would give the edge to in terms of series play here, because obviously if you're a StarCraft 2 fan and a StarCraft 2 fan only, you see DRG, and he's basically a legend within the game. But EffOrt has been one of the best players in the world since back 2-3 years deep into Brood War history. So he's certainly been around the block as well. But I would say DRG is getting the better end of the mind games here, but EffOrt is just kind of, well, in that previous game, obviously, out-controlling him and outplaying him when it comes to the execution portion of the game. But DRG definitely getting the better end of the stick build order-wise in pretty much all the games this far. Last game it ended up pretty even, but if anything, a DRG advantage.
And I think it's Zerg versus Zerg in terms of, you know, raw test of micro ability and skill. It's one of those matchups that's just super, super difficult to control. And if you are the better player, it really, really shows in your micro ability. So watching a game by like EffOrt and DongRaeGu, when you see that crazy Ling Baneling control against one another, it's a real pleasure to watch.
Really nice control by EffOrt. They're actually splitting off a couple of Lings. Even though it was 4 versus 4, he managed to get a drone kill out of it. He did lose all 4 Lings for none, but the Ling's not too big of a deal unless there's going to be... Oh, actually, he's getting Speedling and a bunch of extra Lings here. So DRG is going to go for a Speedling attack. And EffOrt's kind of prepared for this. He has a Spine Crawler coming down. He has the additional Queens to block the ramp. But this is the kind of thing that can still pick off a number of drones if you're not careful.
Ooh, there's actually one Ling already scouting around here. And he does see the extra Zerglings, because the ones that were moving across the map had already been seen by Overlord. So this really does tip off EffOrt as to what's going on. Instantly tries to throw up a little bit of a wall here. But that one drone does get pushed away. Needs to bring another one along. And he will block this with Queens. So a great response here by EffOrt.
Yeah, that's almost overkill. It's not a ton of Zerglings from DRG. I really think he would have been okay just with the Spine Crawler and the Queens. But the building wall just means that absolutely nothing is going to happen. He actually cancels that, makes a Roach Warren. So smart move by him. He is going to need all these buildings eventually. He's making them a little bit earlier than he wants to, but it means that those Zerglings are pretty much completely wasted. They're not going to accomplish anything at all for DRG here.
Yeah, I really like the idea of just nullifying these completely. And, well, he's just adding on everything he needs to, as you rightly pointed out. So from here on out, maybe we'll see EffOrt with his double gases adding on the layer very soon. But hey, DongRaeGu takes the initiative and says, well, if you're going to play this defensively, if you're just going to stick around in your base thinking that I'm going to be threatening you, my third is going down and I'm going to try and exploit some economy advantage.
Absolutely the proper response from DRG. From that wall in, he reads that it's a gasless opening. There's not going to be any speed anytime soon. There's nothing that he has to worry about, so he might as well just take that third base because it's going to be completely safe anyway. So, again, a smart response from DRG. Very similar to the first game, although in this case he is not nearly as far ahead as he was there. So EffOrt going to be much, much more competitive here, I think.
That speed is nowhere near finished here for EffOrt, as is characterized by that gasless expand that you've been mentioning. And, well, the Roach Warren will finish up in just a little bit here for DongRaeGu whilst his +1 gets underway. Now, EffOrt hasn't started his Carapace just yet, despite having the second evolution chamber down.
He's instead investing the gas in actually 8 roaches, quite a bit, but he's going to use that to make sure he can take his third base and that he doesn't fall behind in economy quite as much as he did in that first game. Although he's actually getting up to a lot of roaches. He might, if not actually do an attack, he might posture as if he's attacking. But he's scaring off that Overlord and keeping the roaches like hidden in his main, so DRG doesn't really know what's happening.
Yeah.
He could be going for a roach all-in, and as we see, DRG is now supply blocked.
Well, and that Overlord...
18 Lings, so he's gonna go all in here.
Well, that was a very important Overlord, because it was going to be keeping an eye on the movement of units from the main, right, and what was coming out. So that's going to be, he's going to be blind as to whether or not there's units flooding out from there, and this could hit really, really hard. How many roaches does he have? He has 12 against 8, but he's going to have a lot of Lings behind it.
But back at home, DRG knows what's going on. He's making 10 roaches, so he's going to be relatively prepared for this, and he still has all those Lings from the early game. DRG is going to be in really good shape to hold this off, and he's going to have 3 bases to 2 with a lair versus no lair, and pretty equivalent upgrades. So I think this is going to go DRG's way pretty hard.
DongRaeGu posturing for the defense here, realizing this is on the way. He saw it very, very early with the Overlords, as well as knew about it before. Has to be careful about how he positions himself there. The Lings all run in, trying to tank a little bit of this damage for EffOrt's Roaches to do it, but it doesn't work out. DongRaeGu with the shorter reinforcement path is just as well as overwhelming numbers, and Queen support is going to be able to push this back and hold on to that early third base.
And 2 Queens even walking across the map for EffOrt. That almost makes this an all-in. He back at home, he starts up a lair, and he starts Carapace upgrades. And he's kind of fighting back here. He's killing off roaches, but just we see he's already down 15 supply with a faster third base, faster tech, pretty much faster everything, in fact. And he's getting speed roach, which means he's going to be very dangerous once that finishes. He's going to be able to threaten and deny the third base economy for quite some time from EffOrt. And really, that was just, EffOrt took a risk, and it didn't pay off. DRG was ready for it. He had a Roach Warren. He knew something was up. And just a really good read by DRG and a kind of an odd risk to take by EffOrt. I'm not sure why he did that.
Now, if you were in DongRaeGu's shoes, how do you play this out? Do you just continue to play a normal game, continue to get up a lot of roaches, transition onto maybe even Hydralisks? Oh, wait. Oh, he gets the cancel.
Yeah, getting the cancel is pretty big. He had 2 options, really. He could just roach all in and hope that his advantage is going to be big enough that he can make so many roaches he's absolutely unstoppable. But what he's doing is he's putting up the 5th and 6th gas, he's droning up his 3rd base, and given that he canceled that 3rd base, this is obviously the right choice to go now, because he's just going to have such a big economic advantage that once he maxes, EffOrt is going to be at like 160 supply max and probably not have Hydras, so he's just going to have an untouchable, completely safe advantage at that point. Whereas if he tried to all in, maybe EffOrt can hold it off, maybe EffOrt can get out enough roaches to stay alive, and then the advantage would be gone. But with this, it's just going to be so hard for EffOrt to win from here.
And this is a very, very late clear reconstitution that we're seeing here from EffOrt. So I don't think it'll come into play too much unless DongRaeGu wanted to go right now and do some damage there, and then, but I don't think that's going to be the case. He's just going to do what exactly you said. Just wait for that economy advantage to really fully make effect, as we can see highlighted here. And that from that point on, I mean, he was down about 10 roaches a minute ago, but now he's already surpassing his opponent by just a few, and that's going to increase even more very quickly here for DongRaeGu.
Yeah, and DRG is going to go for actually a max roach, maybe not max, but yeah, probably max roach, and attack as soon as his +2 upgrades finish, because he hasn't gotten the 6th gas in his main. So he's committing pretty heavily to this. He's not going for a big Hydra roach composition. He's just going to make as many roaches as he can and assume that EffOrt can't have as many roaches as him and go attack.
It's a very strong army that we're seeing here. 57 roaches against 48 in total. Now, when this engagement happens, yes, EffOrt will have queens if he wants to pull them away from injecting, which you have to be kind of careful about, because you do want to keep up in terms of reproduction once this engagement comes. He has a really good concave, and he also has a spine crawler there. I don't know if DongRaeGu can take this.
Yeah, I don't really like this choice from DRG. It feels unnecessarily risky. I think going for Roach Hydra and a 4th base would have been the safer option, but he does still have a pretty big advantage here, and he has +2 versus +1, so that's going to help as well.
Yeah, and I feel that he just got the better end of the positioning there, as those roaches will continue to flood on forwards. Now, in terms of the numbers here, we have about 45 roaches in favor of EffOrt over 35 roaches, so he is continuing to just pile on through. The roaches for EffOrt were dancing around a little bit at the back there, whilst all of DongRaeGu's are still firing, and he's just slowly whittling down these numbers and completely crushing the life out of EffOrt.
Oh, reinforcements coming in from the wings of EffOrt, and he does push him back, but still a 40 supply lead for DRG, a better economy, pretty much better everything. And the big thing there was he pulled out in time. He recognized when the roach battle was swinging EffOrt's way and got out before he actually lost all of his roaches, which may have allowed EffOrt to kind of snowball, but here, just still a massive roach lead for DRG. Yeah. Just not much EffOrt can do about it.
Yeah, again, when an engagement happens like that, yes, the reinforcement path for the defender is much shorter, but again, the overpowering economy here of DongRaeGu might hold strong as he just fell back to his reinforcements. Now going to push on once again. EffOrt trying to hold on valiantly. Reinforcing roaches from the natural and main do enter the fray, as well as just a few lings, but at this point, I don't know. Look, DongRaeGu looks as if he's kind of overextended a little bit again, thanks to the fact that EffOrt's reinforcement path is just shorter.
Yeah, he's really trying to force the issue too much, and now they have equal upgrades, I believe. Oh no, it's actually an upgrade advantage for EffOrt now. He had the Carapace upgrade, I forgot about that. So he's 1-2 against 0-2 for DRG, and they have relatively similar economies, a decent lead for DRG, but when it comes to roaches, it's more just about who has a shorter reinforcement path and who has a bigger concave, because they can both afford to make full production roaches. They can both support 3 hatcheries, and that's what it really comes down to. So yeah, DRG has to be really careful not to throw this away at this point. I really didn't like the choice to go with that roach timing attack. It felt unnecessarily risky. Just put down a Hydra Den, take a 4th base, and you win.
EffOrt just seemed way too aware of what was happening and set himself up beautifully to actually deal with it. And now DongRaeGu is, in essence, kind of even thing. I mean, I still feel that DongRaeGu does have that little bit of a favorable advantage because he's got those Hydralisks on the way. And then when they come out, they do provide fantastic power behind these roaches. But he doesn't want to be taking the engagements before those Hydralisks come out with him.
Yeah, he's being really cheeky with his army, and he's definitely outnumbered right now. So he's going to lose a few free roaches on the retreat, and still that upgrade advantage. And Hydras are absolutely fantastic in Roach Hydra versus Roach, but it all comes down to positioning. If he flanks him, he does not want to attack here. EffOrt's not going to win that.
Not too bad a concave there for a second here for DongRaeGu, but he does get pushed away by EffOrt, who now takes a very sizable advantage in terms of the positioning. He's actually on top of some of those Hydralisks on the right-hand side here, which means that he's actually queued up some of the attacks on them as well to try and kill them off. But will the reinforcements hold strong for DongRaeGu? They might be able to, especially since some of those reinforcements are Hydralisks powering back EffOrt.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, EffOrt maybe feels that it was just too risky to keep the game going given the Hydras. The Hydras will kind of snowball into an advantage for DRG if they're allowed to go. But that was clearly not going to work, especially when he pulled back to his Spine Crawlers. Hydra DPS is just so absurd if you can't get to them, and there's too many Roaches in front of him. He really should have pulled back and just held some Roaches for a counterattack and tried to spread the game out a bit and make it less army versus army, because he doesn't win the army versus army anymore. And an interesting move from EffOrt, he's actually going to go Roach Baneling. And I kind of like that, especially if DRG goes too Hydra heavy. 200-200 Roach Baneling can beat 200-200 Roach Hydra. It's the Infestors that really absolutely shut it down. And we see no inclination to go Infestor for DRG. Nice. A bunch of Lings going to do a little bit of harassment.
Nice separation up as well into the main and natural, so he's trying to split any kind of damage that would be done, and also his opponent's attention in general. But look at this.
And a big Roach counterattack. That's a big commitment from EffOrt here. He's going to lose those units. He needs to get a hatchery. Okay, he's just going to back out.
That would have.
That's smart from him.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the word dicey, but it would have been very dicey if he'd have actually gone up there. So it happened. I'm sorry, guys. So DongRaeGu now maxed out, whilst EffOrt is trundling along at the 166 supply, and just in general for the armies, DongRaeGu's is much bigger. But 20 Banelings are morphing in. If he can get the connections with those Hydralisks, that is going to significantly decrease the firepower that we're seeing here from DongRaeGu.
His Roaches are way out of position. The Banelings might even die before the real battle can happen. And without speed. This is going to be tough.
The Banelings try and go straight through a lot of those Roaches as they did split themselves up here. A bit of an odd engagement from both sides, as there's not that many Hydralisks left here, but there's still a lot of Roaches here for DongRaeGu as he tries to turn around to take some of these units out. But whilst all this is going on at the natural...
The Roach Warren fell.
Yeah, he killed the Roach Warren, so he can't make any more Roaches.
No more reinforcements and a 50 supply advantage for DRG, and it's not like he can make Hydras. And it's not like Lings are going to do anything here. So without the Roaches, that's pretty much the end of it. DRG needs to pull back. He should know that the Roach Warren fell. He just needs to wait for a big wave of reinforcements, and he'll be absolutely unlosable.
Yeah, I think that was a brilliant move there by DongRaeGu. I mean, on the right-hand side in that engagement, yes, he could have lost a lot of those Roaches, but the prize that he takes away for killing off that Roach Warren whilst he's still producing behind it, it really doesn't matter what EffOrt could throw at him from that point on. As DongRaeGu now doubles his opponent's supply, EffOrt is on full retreat, and he knows he has very little left in this game, as his Roaches are going to just get completely pinned back. GG, DongRaeGu advances on to the bracket stage and wins Group B.
Really nicely played by him. Just really recognizing the gas list opening and taking advantage of it once again. Both the games he won, it was from that. He just knew that his opponent wasn't going to have any kind of map presence, took that third base and ran with the advantage. Really clean from him. Impressive stuff,
and now that means EffOrt will have to play against the winner of either Happy or King Kong, so he needs to win one more series to advance on, whilst Happy and King Kong need to win 2 if they want to plow on. So that means that we now have San MVP and DongRaeGu in the top 8, which is,
like you said, it's a 2011 tournament all over again.
Yeah, it's a weird lineup, but that is how it's working out so far. And I'll be very interested to see who else actually goes through. I don't think we can get like a full 2011 lineup.
I don't think there's enough of those players left in the tournament, no. Curious was around back then. He was a GSL player at that point.
Bomber Dream.
Bomber, yeah. Dream, not really. I guess he's been around since then, but he wasn't relevant back then.
Yeah, that's true.
And then from the last group, Squirtle.
Yeah.
And Hack, maybe. I don't know.
Hack was
I don't know when
Hack
mattered.
He mattered quite a lot in GSTL for StarTale,
yeah.
I feel, before that.
So we might be able to do that, yeah. But the last one from this group, Happy, King Kong, King Kong was on StarTale. So yeah. King Kong makes it through. But no, EffOrt's going to win.
Yeah.
EffOrt's too good. Even after that last one, that was disappointing.
All right. Okay. Well, that certainly wraps things up for our series. And we're going to have a little bit more StarCraft on the way for you in just a bit, as we are now just waiting to see who is going to advance on from the last 3 players remaining here in Group B. Is it going to be either going to be Happy? We have also King Kong in there, and then EffOrt. You think EffOrt?
I can't imagine EffOrt losing to those two. Like, they're good players. They deserve respect, but EffOrt is a step above, I think.
EffOrt's really good, guys. All right, we are going to send it over for an interview with the winner of Group B, Mr. DongRaeGu.
Thanks very much, chaps. Yes, with the winner, DongRaeGu. Congratulations, well done. Good game. Yesterday, you and I had a bit of a chat backstage, and you said your skill was at ground 0. Has it gone up today?
전에 인터뷰를 했었는데 실력이 엄청 밑으로 떨어져 있었다고 했었는데 오늘은 좀 어떤지?
글쎄요, 오늘 좀 IEM 여러 번 와봐서 그런지 여기 너무 편안해가지고 게임 자체가 너무 잘 되는 것 같아요. 네.
Well, I think because I've been in so many IEMs, I'm really relaxed and confident. So I think that's why I won.
Okay, so a good game today. You played a best of three, 1-1, and then the third map, almost at one point I thought maybe we were going to lose on the upgrade war. Were you aware that he was ahead on upgrades, but you had the unit advantage?
마지막 게임에 업그레이드가 더 높았는지 그거를 잘 알고 있어서 플레이를 했는지.
마지막 경기 네. 그러니까 공업은 제가 좀 빨랐는데 시간이 주면 줄수록 제가 방업을 안 한 상태에서 좀 불리하다는 걸 생각하고 최대한 제가 유리할 타이밍에 몰아붙이려고 네, 플레이했던 게 잘 먹혔던 것 같아요.
Well, I knew that I was not behind in attack upgrades, so I had the timing to attack him. So I used that timing, and it was successful.
Okay, the last time I remember you playing EffOrt, and you may have played him in between this, but I remember in WCS last year, and you had a good game with him back then. What is it? Is it the matchup that's good for you, or was it just literally playing EffOrt again, and you knew how he was going to play?
지난번 WCJ에서도 이제 김정우 선수를 만났었는데요. 그때도 이긴 걸로 기억하고 있는데 네? 졌었나요? 하여튼 다시 만나게 됐었는데 어땠었는지 다시 만나게 됐던 게.
네, 사실 제가 저번에 졌어가지고 그때 이후로 거의 뭐 그때도 사실 슬럼프였던 것 같은데 그때 이후로 또 막 계속 밑으로 곤두박질 치는 바람에 좀 한 번쯤 다시 대갚아줄 네, 기회는 있었으면 좋겠다 했는데 오늘 이렇게 만나서 승리해서 네, 기분이 좋네요. 네.
Well, in the WCG match, I lost against EffOrt, and I really hoped for a rematch. And today I got the chance, and I took it.
Yeah, you absolutely did. One final question for you. We've got San, we've got MVP, and now we've got DRG all through to the round of 8. Have we stepped in a time machine and gone back 2 years?
다 좀 베테랑 선수들이 많이 올라왔는데 타임머신을 타고 다시 돌아가는 기분인지 어떤지요?
네, 한창 그때 저나 정용희 형이나 네, 강천 선수 잘할 때 한창 게임이 재밌었어요. 게임 보는 것도 그렇고 플레이하는 것도 굉장히 재밌었는데 이렇게 다시 그때로 돌아가는 것 같아서 감회가 새롭고 또 옛날에선 그다지 많이 우승 못했으니까 이런 자리에서 우승을 해야 뜻깊지 않을까 생각해요. 네.
Well, it feels good to be in the next round with all those players because at the time when we were all very good, it was really fun to play the game. So it's exciting to play with them in the next round.
Well, congratulations once more, ladies and gentlemen. DongRaeGu is through to the quarterfinals and will face up against a number of old legends, as we've already said. San and MVP are already there. We're about to find out who the fourth man that will join him is going to be with our final group games from Group B. There's still one more spot to go in the round of 16. We'll see you in a bit.